Welcome back to the Seat Time Podcast. And for episode 23.5, we have Josh Toth as our guest. We just got done with the Black Buffalo National Enduro there in Kingston, Arkansas, but we talk about much more because his 2023 program is very different from what many other racers, riders, and spectators expected because he walked away from his full rides at KTM. So we talk about all of that. We talk about jumping back and forth between 2 strokes and 4 strokes. Of course, everything he's been doing with the US Hard Enduro Series, National Enduros. He's gonna be racing the Loretta Lynn's trying to qualify for that event. Pretty cool episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. Of course, if you want to support Seat Time, the number one way to do that, find the share button wherever you're watching or listening and make sure you send it to your riding buddies. If you want to financially support us, we do have shirts at shop.seattime.co. If that is something you'd like to do, we're just glad that you're here. Keep enjoying getting Seat Time. Enjoy the episode, and we'll see you at the end. Josh Toth, welcome to Seat Time. How are you doing, kind sir?
Good. Kind of feel like a zombie right now. I've been driving nonstop since I left my house last week, and then went to Arkansas, raced Arkansas, and then spent the last day ripping around Bentonville, and then drove another 12 hours today and made it to another hotel.
Okay, so you're not even in Bentonville anymore. You were in Bentonville the day after the Enduro, but now you're somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm almost up to Michigan. Well, I'm in Michigan now. And coming up to Enduro Engineering Shop and check it out. Yeah, that's my main sponsor now. So check out their home base and go do a Loretta Lynn's area qualifier up here.
Holy crap. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, but you just, threw it out in the very beginning of the episode. But that's part of your program this year is trying to qualify for Loretta Lynn's.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm just going for after all the bucket list races and events and trying to see, I don't know what my ceiling is and what I can go after and what I guess really my limit is in all these different disciplines.
Yeah, what's driving that for you?
Yeah, man, I mean, obviously I'm just a dirt bike rider at heart and love riding and want to just ride everything I have the opportunity to, but in the last few years, just injuries and a few different things going on. I kind of took for granted being healthy and stuff. So being at this level and wanting to pursue the races I wanted to do, that's what led me, I guess, to change up my program.
Yeah, interesting.
So,
all right, well, yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean all over the place, but I just kind of threw it out there because I'm in the mix of it now and staying really busy, traveling around and trying to hit everything.
Yeah, well, perfect. That plays right into a lot of what I wanted to ask you about. Let's just jump right into that. When did this start to formulate in your head, this idea of what your 2023 looks like?
Honestly, years ago, I've honestly always wanted to race motocross, wanted to race hard enduro, and then this was kind of before the World Enduro Super Series came out, and that evolved into having all these different avenues of racing combined into one championship. And I was like, man, that would be my ultimate dream. Right. And then that kind of dwindled down, and I know it was tough for all the teams or manufacturers to make it possible to do that. But then seeing Sipe's program and him branching out and just doing the sickest schedule ever, I'm like, there's other ways to do this and represent cool sponsors, companies, and get to do what I love. Yeah.
And so what did you bring that to KTM in the sense of hey, this is an idea that I have, or was it kind of like you knew that you just kind of had to walk away from your factory KTM ride and kind of just see what you could create, and it just so happens that you're on a gas this year?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to them and they knew my plans or my dreams, I guess.
Your desires?
Desires at that point and what I wanted to do, and I totally understand their point of view, but they didn't really want to support something like that and me branching out, and my value to them is just racing GNCC and Enduros, and I get that. That's what I signed up for. But yeah, towards the end, I kind of just got a little burnt out racing the 3 hours and going just grinding that out and doing the same tracks, and just seeing all these other events kind of pass by that I've always wanted to do. And
Right.
then while I'm in my prime, I like was feeling good, like kind of top of my game, and then get a big injury, like breaking my leg, and it just takes it all away. I'm like, dang, like one more like this, it could be over. You never
Mm.
know. And yeah, it was just like a real eye opener, and I just wanted to do what I could while I could.
Yeah. So tell me if I'm kind of reading this a little bit right. It's that like the breaking of the leg really kind of like let you see the writing on the wall, but it's like it's not that this is bad. It's just that this is so finite. It's one thing, or in this case, two things: GNCC and National Enduro, and you just had bigger sights than that, and you didn't either A, want to get so hurt that you couldn't do any of it, or B, it's like you didn't want to go another 5 to 10 years in this single discipline and like feel like you would have then missed out on all these opportunities because at your younger age you have probably more capacity to do a lot more of the little things than what you're saying of this like finite kind of path.
Yeah, it's definitely the latter, and like I said, my time is limited at this level. I know that, and everybody says like just as I was becoming a pro or trying to do this as a job, everyone's like, this doesn't last forever. You gotta do it while you can or enjoy it. And I was like everyone, you just kind of take it for granted. But yeah,
Yeah.
a big injury like a leg puts you on the couch for 3 months sitting still and doing nothing. You're like got a lot of time to think, and you're like, man, if I had another one of these or broke the other leg, like, yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to ride in my prime and see what I'm capable of in all these other avenues of racing.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. And when did the current program kind of as is enduro engineering, as you mentioned, your prime sponsor there, you're kind of going back and forth between the two stroke there and the four stroke, the 350 and the 300 with gas as kind of the bike that you're riding, all your other supporters, right? Like was that kind of last minute going into the beginning of the year, or did you have kind of like a little bit of time to get all that gathered up?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has come
Or
down
are
to
we
last
still
minute.
adding sponsors? Like literally right now,
we
there's
got we
space.
got space. We got
Yeah.
space on the bike. My van's not wrapped. Yeah,
We can get there. We'll do it when there's time.
yeah, yeah. But no, it was stressful for sure. But I just knew it was the right thing to do. I had I wouldn't say I didn't have a written offer from KTM, but just verbally they wanted to continue and extend, and it was honestly I had a lot of long talks with the bosses there, and I mean, props to them. They really wanted to keep me around and really questioned me and asked if this was what I really wanted to do, and made sure I was making the right choice. And yeah, overall, I told them, really don't make me an offer. I want to do this for me, and I don't really care about the money.
That's awesome, dude. Because like, and I feel like regardless of how this year goes, next year goes, wherever, right? I think like this is that decision that you've now made. When you look back in 20 years and you're the 40-year-old, you're not going. You don't even have the question of what if because you did it. You know what I
100%.
mean? And
Yeah.
being in my mid 40s now, I totally understand that capacity, right? Like society does just make it feel like you have these boxes that you're supposed to check off. And in your case, with your talent and your speed, you're supposed to be fighting for championships at whatever discipline of racing you choose, right? And in this case, it was GNCC and National Enduros. But you're like, you know what? Sure, but that doesn't fill my bucket. And right now, what fills my bucket is like I want to push myself in all these other avenues also. And you found a way to make that happen. And so I applaud you, dude, because it is someone in their, in their early 20s. That is not an easy decision that someone would make lightly. Probably even
Yeah.
think about making, let alone make lightly.
No, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I didn't take it lightly. I put a lot of thought into it, and thought it through a lot. And yeah, I had to understand what I was giving up because yeah, obviously I was on the best team for the series I was racing, and they're at the top level. They always have the best of the best, and yeah, like I said, had to really think about what I was going through or where it was going to take me, and I kind of was thinking about the future, and I knew I could branch out and do this stuff, like I said, while I was younger, while I'm healthy, and come back to GNCC and that kind of like structure later in life too. I could see myself doing, you know, like you said, just being young and motocross stuff like that. Like that's a young man's sport, and I understand that. So do it while I can.
Yeah, man. Okay, probably the most important question that everyone has on their mind right now: two-stroke or four-stroke?
Man, for everything or for I can't have
What
anything else.
What are your thoughts? Break it down, right? Like, you know what
Oh
I mean? Like, because that's the thing. We've noticed hard enduro two strokes. That's just the way it's going. The fact that more of the Japanese manufacturers don't make two strokes to even have a little bit of that market is
yeah.
ridiculous, right? But then obviously, you know, that you need the 350 for the enduros for some of the other events that you're doing, the more open stuff, maybe even motocross. You'll have to talk to us about that, right? Like, talk through us the decisions that you're making, how you're setting the bikes up, what it's like to go back and forth between them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I fortunately I got to give it up, like you said, all these decisions and like giving up. I gotta thinking back on that, like I couldn't do without like Gas Enduro Engineering and Bell's Electric for supporting me and helping out with the bikes, you know. And I'm fortunate to have 7 different bikes this year, and yeah, so
You know
I
that
got
my bike is almost 7 years old, so it's kind of the same thing.
pretty similar. Yeah, my hard enduro bike might look 7 years old right now.
Yeah, no, it does. I'll give you that.
No, no, Gas has a great lineup of bikes. Like they have the sickest for everything, you know. Like they're the fun brand, and they really have everything to bring to the table. Like the 300 TPI is incredible for um, hard enduro, what I've been riding, and there's really no other bike that comes close to being capable of going what you put it through, you know, and
Right.
finding the traction you can. And then the 350 is just all around best woods bike, good for cross country, enduro, fast, smooth. You know, like I actually rode my MC 250, so like the motocross 252 stroke
Right.
at a sprint enduro earlier
Yeah,
this
earlier
year.
this year, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like thinking about racing that at Snowshoe, and so I was like, oh, I'll feel it out, and man, a motocross bike, like, in the woods, you forget how violent and hard hitting it is compared to a woods bike, like, it's, all those bikes are, they have all those different models for a reason,
Yeah.
you know?
Could you imagine that MC 250 in test number 6 from this past weekend at the Black Buffalo?
Yeah, should be a handful. But, no, I've adapted and, you just every bike you gotta learn to ride a little differently, and I know at that sprint enduro, I would just grab a handful, blast out of the turn, and come barreling into the next one because I couldn't stop. And just not used to having no engine braking or drag because I wasn't really riding two stroke at the time. And then yeah, the TPI also is just blows the motocross model out of the water for the woods. You know,
Really? Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
I
You know,
I
I'm not
did
gonna
take
lie, you're like you're very few people that I hear have positive things to have not negative things to say about the TPI. Let's put it that way.
yeah. No, I have mixed reviews personally. It's an odd bike. The power curve is super strange for me. Like it's way different than everything else, but it works for hard enduro, you know.
Okay.
It just has like that smooth, like electric, almost like power. Just very good delivery and very torquey. You could take off in like third, fourth gear. But yeah, to try to ride it fast, it's super sketchy, I think. But I mean, it's what it's built for, you know.
Right.
That's why they have all those different models.
Yeah.
But
So,
I'm
yeah,
I do
like if
have
you
the
had one, yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
I do have the TPI bit figured out now, and yeah, running good and handling good. So I'm actually gonna bust it out for snowshoe, GNCC.
So
I
you're gonna
think
do it. You're
yeah,
gonna two
we're gonna
stroke
do
at
it.
snowshoe.
Heck
Do you
yeah,
think that's a good idea? As rocky and as all batshit crazy as
yeah,
that place is?
yeah. No, I think it's gonna be money there actually. I was debating on riding the motocross model, and I have a 300 kit for it, so kind of like slow it
Tame it down
down,
a
and
little bit. Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't rev so quick, and I was still on the fence with that, but yeah, I've been running the TPI for hard enduro, and I think it'll work good.
Cool, man. That's awesome. So, but if you did, okay, you got all these 7 bikes, and you had to sell 6 and keep one, which one would it be?
I'd probably keep 350.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And which model of gas is that, right? With all the MCs, X, and all the which madoodles.
yeah. I have the MC, like the motocross. Honestly,
Okay.
that's what I put an 18-inch wheel, and then we do our thing to it. But yeah, it's great all around bike. The 450 is awesome, fun to ride. Like that's one of my favorite play bikes ever. And it's good on like an outdoor track, or I don't know, pretty much everything. But then you get it in the woods and it doesn't really want to turn or stop like the 350. And the
Right.
250 is just a little bit underpowered or not quite as torquey as a 350. So yeah, 350
Interesting. Okay, so the 350 that you race off-road in the woods is the motocross edition. You put an 18-inch rear wheel on it, but anything with the gearing or inside the transmission or anything kind of air quotes different from the way that it would come stock?
No, I mean I race them. Yeah, my practice bike's a completely stock bike, stock engine, everything. Yeah.
Stock gearing as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. All right.
1450 gearing, and
Yeah.
yeah, get suspension obviously done by Enduro Engineering, the cone valves and stuff. So
Ooh,
that's
sexy.
about it.
All right, well there we go, guys. He's choosing the MC350. So if anybody's looking for a 2024, that's the bike to go buy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, they're gonna mix it up in 2024, but I have the 2023s currently. So I mean they're gonna be all bumped up to the new generation, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I just
like
figured, you're selling bikes here right now, so we're talking 2024 already. You know what I'm saying?
that's right, slinging them.
I love it. I love it. Well, okay. When I saw that you not only got to race that amazing national enduro that we got to take part in there outside of Kingston, Arkansas, but then you got to go to Bentonville the day after and ride a mountain bike also, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie, even as an old 43-year-old, like I'm extremely jealous, dude. Like that is some major seat time getting right there. Like, holy
Yeah.
crap.
No, it was awesome. Me and my mechanic Napper, he rented an e-bike. I had my own, and yeah, I think we got out there maybe 10:30, and we rode until probably 5:30 because he had to return the bike at like 6. And
Right.
I rode the last couple miles on my bike dead. But yeah, we just rode all day nonstop, and that place is amazing. Just the trail network is nuts.
Yeah, for those that don't know, like Bentonville, Arkansas, I don't know, it's got to be at least 10 years ago now when they really started this whole thing. It's now the mecca of almost the world of kind of this city-run mountain bike trail system, and it's so big now that it's literally like all of the other cities around in Arkansas are starting to do what Bentonville is doing. Like they're all the way into whatever is it Smithville or that's below, by Fayetteville, and then all the way up to Bella Vista, like almost into Missouri. Like, I mean, there's what, 400, 500 miles worth of trails?
Yeah, that's I know like the Waltons, the Walmart family has a big part in it, and they're from Bentonville originally, and they have like the Walmart Museum here, and that's where a lot of the funding comes from. But they have, I think, 5 trail build crews or something going like all the time, just
Yeah.
expanding constantly. It's crazy.
Yep. I know, dude. It's absolutely nuts. So if anybody enjoyed what you got to do on your dirt bike this past weekend at the Black Buffalo Enduro, you got to go back to the area, hit up Bentonville. Like you said, rent a bike, go get crazy. Yeah, and what's great about what you're saying is, and I didn't even think of this when someone else told me the same thing. What's great about going up there and renting an e-bike is you get to experience more of the trails. It's not about air quotes less exercise. It's about the fact that you can just hit more because of the fact that you're less taxed throughout the day, especially if you're using it, kind of going back and forth, maybe like boost your way to the top, turn it off and go acoustic on the way down. And you can have a ton of fun doing that. I love that concept. And you've sold me on it. Next time I go to Bentonville, might be what I have to do. I'll have to dig deep into the piggy bank, but we'll figure it out.
Head to Pedalworks Hickory, pick up an e-bike.
Yeah, I'll be like Josh Toth sent me. Do I get the Josh Toth discount?
Yeah,
anybody?
That's right. That's
yes.
right. Send them over. But no, yeah, you can get the e-bike and rip around all day, but I barely put a dent in the trails, you know.
Oh, it's
Like
insane.
that's why I think just to get your more bang for your buck, you go there on a acoustic bike, like you said, you really you're gonna spend most of the day seeing the same trail and not getting very far out from your park. I mean, you cover a lot of ground. It's all about what shape you're in, I guess. But
Yeah.
e-bike, you can just go that much faster.
Yep. All right, well, that's probably enough mountain bike talk for this dirt bike podcast, but we both just got done kicking ass and taking names this past weekend at that third round of the National Enduro Series. I freaking loved it. I don't know if you got a chance to read the race recap that I wrote on Instagram, but I have to get your thoughts. Like, give us the highlights.
Yeah, trail was great. I thought the terrain was super cool, rocky, like they said. I kind of expected to be rocky, and yeah, I wasn't let down. That's for sure. Going into the first test, I was a little aggressive and put it down. Um, just a lot of skatey rocks that piled up in the leaves on the side that were kind of death traps, you know.
Dude, I thought I had left WD-40 on my tires in like that
Right.
first 2 or 3 miles
Yeah.
of the first test. I literally stopped at one point because I thought I hit something and my rear tire was like crooked. I mean, I have it
Yeah.
on the GoPro footage.
Crazy.
I like stop and look down because I'm like, what is happening? And nope,
Yeah.
that shit was just that slick.
Yeah, no, it was wild. I lost my front end a couple times, and then yeah, I was running gummy rear tire and just hooking up like crazy. Honestly, getting drive, it was sick. I love the loose rocks that piled up and kind of it was almost like a loamy dirt at times, just the marbles of rocks. It was so sick.
And in the weird turns, all you hear is the crunch of all the
Mhm.
rock like continuing to just
Shifting.
into shifting
Yeah,
and pushing into each other. It was very strange. But to your point, really cool.
yeah, sick. But not very forgiving when you crash.
No.
Pretty sharp. For sure. It reminded me of a lot like Netro Hair Scrambles I grew up on. That terrain we pretty much grew up on. Same thing. You can't really avoid the rock. You got to ride through it.
Crazy. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like very few places that I've ridden that have been like that much rock, where it's just like when you hit some of the loamy dirt, like it was loamy, but even in the loamy dirt, there was still like rocks hidden all up in there. And then the cool boulder sections that you would like ride through that were, rider height,
Mhm.
if not taller, as they would snake you between them and everything. I think it was test 3 and 4 that kind of felt the most flowy, the most air quotes fast.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
those, like to your point, like I mean, there was a lot of elevation, a lot of side hilling where shit could go sideways, and there was still a lot of loose rocks. I just think they weren't as big, so they weren't as edgy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like almost just riding through gravel pit reminded me too, a lot of it. I just got broken down so much and it shifted like you said, you just got to get that feel of coming in really hot and getting the rear wheel to break loose and slide and kind of steer that way because trying to turn on that stuff is pretty unpredictable.
Yeah.
Front
Well, I
end.
don't think that I was at any time trying to break the rear wheel loose to turn. And if that happened, it was probably me going, "Oh shit, I'm going down." But we're just different. We're just different. But to that point, like you grew up doing this, like you're saying, they're in Netro or terrain like that. Like, how should riders like myself, who have a lot of fun, love the challenge and the technical aspect of it, but what are some of the things to think about to be more aggressive, to ride faster, to take away next time we're kind of like in that type of terrain?
Yeah, honestly, that train has given me a lot of good habits and bad ones because
Mm,
I'm a really good like stand-up rider and I don't sit down a whole lot. So I think that's just because it's so bony and rocky, you just never get a break like that. But at the same time, like I said, steering with your rear wheel works in situations like that where you're on rocks, loose rocks, so you got to kind of skid and slide through the trees. But um, in a grass track, that's like the worst technique you can do. You know, you're trying to roll through and carve it really nice in a cross test. But yeah, that one, stand up, read the trail as far ahead as you can, you know, and try not to have any unexpected stuff go on, you know. That's what I just like come out of every turn, look as far ahead as I can and see what's kind of coming, and so my mind has a chance to really take it in, and yeah, there's some things you just can't predict in there too. Rocks flipping over, tipping, or the guy in front of you lifting one over. That happened to me. And a lapper just flipped this big boulder out of the weeds and just wiped me out. But yeah, there's some things that are unavoidable in that stuff, and you just gotta understand that too.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, what to your point about kind of like the rocks jumping up and biting you. That happened to me. There was a guy, I was on 46. No, I was on 45 and there was a guy on 46. He's in the AA class. So obviously me in the A40, he's passing me every test. You know what I mean? He's only a minute behind me. And he passed me, I think it was in the 5th test. And man, every time he would pass me as we got later in the day, I still felt like I had some decent energy. So I'm trying to keep up with him, as much as I could. Sometimes I'd stay with him 30, 45 seconds. This time I did a little bit better. And unfortunately, I watched him catch a rock, and then it shot his rear end into the tree, which was on the other side. So, the rock caught him on the left side. It shot his rear end to the right, which was flipped him, high-sided him right into a tree, and he just stopped cold. And I got it on camera, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, whoa." Like, this like drunk monkey getting up off the ground, like, what just happened? But again, like he said he was okay. So, but then 10 seconds later, he's back on the gas, and I get back over and let him pass me, and then I stick with him for another 15, 20 seconds. I was just like, holy smokes. But that's exactly what you're saying. I mean, the trail just jumped up and bit him.
Yeah. Just some things you can't do. And yeah, I had some funny incidents like that too with lappers. Definitely scared a few trying to get around them, and then you're just kind of carving and weaving like when you should be perpendicular and just driving straight, and those loose rocks kind of skip out, and I swapped around a couple times just trying to get around people. But
yeah, how do you so what kind of talk us through your process? Now, granted, it's probably a little different and it's a little bit in the moment for you guys, I'm sure, because you really do come up on, like, let's just be honest, I've been passed a lot my entire life in enduros, so I get it, and I can hear you guys riding up on me pretty quick, so I know to get over pretty fast with you faster guys. Well, what is kind of like your process on like coming up on people, and how do you either try to make them aware that you're there, or like do you just know that you're kind of picking a side to try to go around them?
yeah, as soon as, like I said, I'm trying to read the trail as far ahead as I can. So every turn, look up. If I see a helmet, I'll just, whenever I get the chance, just slip the clutch a little bit and hit the rev limiter. Like as soon as I see them, because I know that gives them a better opportunity more time to think and react to get out of the way. So I try to give like the most warning I can time wise. Like as soon as I see them, I get loud, make my bike loud, and then come up on them, give them a couple revs, and then if they have like an opportunity, hopefully they make it. If they pass one or two opportunities to pull over, then I put them in the bushes. Yeah. But that's it's frustrating sometimes too, because you get some people out there that are just like on a trail ride and we're racing for a tenth of a second for a podium or whatever it is, and like, man, if you're not racing, sign up on row 100. But
that's what I was about to ask as you're saying this. I'm like, do you think it'd be beneficial to like not allow like say C riders in the 30s? You know what I mean? Or the 20s and 30s. It's like you have to be in this B class or up. In certain age classes even maybe wouldn't be allowed in there. Do you think that would help? That would make a difference? Does it even matter? Like I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I don't have the perfect solution, but I've put some thought into it for sure. And to be honest, sometimes like a C rider, they hear you and they're going slow enough, they just pull right over and get out of the way. Like they're the easiest people to pass. And sometimes an A-level rider is like just going fast enough, or it's dusty and you're trying to make a move, but then they're trying to race, so then they won't slow down. And that's like sometimes the hardest to get by. But I think, getting rid of maybe amateurs, but like C riders, whatever, out of those rows, and giving us our own kind of breathing room in there might, just everyone would kind of understand more too and have like a better respect, because sometimes people just sign up and that's their local enduro and they just like, oh damn, I'm right in here with all the pros, and they're just getting run over all day.
You're right. That's a good point. That like there could be people out there like most of the traditional enduros, and even in the longest time for the national enduros, it was the 20s, right? The 20s were where all the professionals rode. Well, we just saw that
Yeah.
the guys in the 30s then were getting better, so they moved you guys back to try to give you guys a little bit more of that trail, right? To kind of
Right.
leverage instead of being in the 20s. So it's like somebody might sign up in the 30s because their local enduro pros were always in the 20s, and they're like, well, I don't want to be in the 20s. And then they wind up signing up in the 30s, and they're like, oh snap, like I am literally in the lion's den. Crap.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel bad for those people sometimes too. So like I said, I try to give them the most warning I can. As soon as I see a helmet or a bike, I'll get loud, give a couple revs. But once I'm on them, and usually most people are good about it and respectful, try to get out as quick as they can. And but yeah, if they're trying to race me or trying to get out of the way, I'm like, I know I've already caught you from a little bit back, and kind of frustrating. Then I'll push them out of the way. But yeah,
Yeah. I know it's tough,
most.
and I just thought, keep going.
I was gonna say most incidents with lappers are like honestly people that get just kind of freaked out and
Yeah.
spastic when they hear you, and then like they'll go from the left and then just hear a bike, and then instead of they'll hear you rev up and panic and just jump to the right side, T-bone them. And it's like, man, I was just trying to let you know I'm coming by. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to tell you to move. Or they always seem to kind of cut to the wrong side of the trail, but
Yep.
it is what
Dude,
it is.
even as an 840 rider, I still have the same shit happen all the time. And it's just like, whatever. I was thinking, again, as we're kind of like talking about this, like maybe the 30s, instead of being 5 riders per row, it's four riders per row, like only in the 30s, right? So that again, like it's like there's just a little bit less racers that are starting each test kind of in that room you guys are at. Now, granted,
Right.
yes, you're going to catch into the guys in the 20s, and that might suck for the guys that are in the 40s. So maybe, it's not the perfect thing. But I want to go so far as to say that this race, if it was 65 miles or longer, is a bucket list race. Like anybody who likes racing enduros and wants to walk away wanting a finisher badge, I believe that this is one of those events. If it was minimum 65 miles long, I think adding 10 miles minimum, maybe 15, so you're in that 70 to 65 to 70 mile range, would be for like seriously a bucket list tough traditional enduro.
Yeah,
Thought.
no, that was full proper enduro for sure. Like I said, trail was awesome, and then like got to the sixth test, and that was almost a hard enduro. It was still flowy in spots, but it was challenging. Like it was gnarly. So I really enjoyed it, and then I agree it was a bit of a short day, I think. And it could be a little bit longer, but then some of the trail just snaked back so close to itself. Like if you were fortunate enough to see somebody coming by an earlier row, you could like make a huge cut. And
Mm.
it is a gamble. You don't know if that's the right one, but you could definitely tell and where some people were able to snake through and cut off like a quarter mile or whatever. It just
Wow.
a long switchback.
Yeah. Yep. And two, like I don't really know how much of the property they used, right? Like there
Right,
could be
right.
20 more miles, and it's just, well, the national enduros like to keep them short so that it kind of like ends around a certain time so that people can start hitting the road and stuff like that, which I get. And if it's a national, it's probably
Yeah,
going to stay short, but hopefully, I know last year everybody that raced it said that test 6 was a lot harder than what it was this year, and that they
I did hear
did
that.
kind of
Yeah,
like tame it down a little bit for the national, which again, whatever. Dude, were those downhills to that test not like actually kind of sketchy?
yeah, they're sick. I loved it.
Yeah.
I was having a blast.
I talked to a handful of riders that went down on the downhills coming to the last test, and I was like, well, get ready because there's a lot more coming up.
Yeah, no doubt.
We had fun. So speaking of hard enduro, you've been doing a ton of hard enduro, right? We talked about some of the bikes that you've been on. You got to go to Hawaii. You went to Grinding Stone. We saw you there at Snakebite. Like, dude, like, how does someone learn hard enduro as fast as you've learned hard enduro?
I'm just a hard enduro rider at heart. I grew up, like I said, in
I mean, I
Connecticut.
feel that I also identify as a hard enduro racer, but I don't feel that it's working out for me as nearly as well as it has for you.
Yeah, no, I grew up riding that terrain and gnarly stuff. Like I said, it was Arkansas Trail was pretty similar to what I grew up on. So not quite hard enduro, but like definitely tough trails. And Yeah, I did a little bit of hard enduro in the past. I've won Tough Like Roar and got a second place after that, but that was kind of before they got like extreme. I'd say that was a hard enduro, not like an extreme enduro.
Right.
And now they've gotten pretty extreme for sure. But I've been contracting stuff to do GNCC and wasn't able to really do the hard
Right.
enduro so much and focus on it. But I've always just liked to mess around and play around on my bike, and haven't had a two-stroke in quite a while, but getting back on that 300 is so much fun, and that's one of my favorite bikes to play around on. I'll just go out to the mountains and then you just explore and have a blast. So, yeah, I guess with the Hawaii, worked out to go over there. I met Ryder Guest, who's a big wave surfer and hard enduro rider over there, and I met him through Steve Hatch last summer at a just he's a family friend of Steve's, and I was doing a training camp, and we hit it off, and he's like, yeah, anytime you get to come over here, you should. And then when they posted that race, I was like, I hit him up about getting a
You're like,
bike.
so here I am.
Yeah, not, I'll take you up on that.
Yeah.
So no, it was awesome. Rented a bike over there. Um, Rode with some locals, just like cruising around around the island. Just unreal trails, pretty gnarly. Um, Whenever it gets wet, they call it like the Hawaiian ice, and it is no joke. Just the slickest, probably like TKO, similar slick, you know. And
Right.
yeah, that was a challenging race. Tons of riding. We did like a couple hours at least of racing on Saturday, and then a little bit under an hour Sunday morning, and then before the main event. In the main event, I finished at like 4 hours and 1 minute, so I was cooked.
Yeah. They,
It's tough.
yeah. So I don't even know where to start with Hawaii,
I
dude.
know.
Like, I mean, just
So
tell us more about that trip. Like, we need to know. Like, how amazing is that place?
I'm actually gonna have a really cool footage from there. My buddy Ian Howes, which probably a bunch of people out there have seen his
Yeah.
Instagram. How's it going? His clips, his unreal work. But he came out there with me and captured it. So we're kind of putting together like a few episodes to try to encapsulate like everything I'm doing. We're trying to do like a 5 episode series. So that's gonna be one of them. So you will see a bunch of that. It's gonna be sick. But yeah, that was just an incredible event. Um, the locals are all about it. Everybody's stoked to be around dirt bikes, and they cut some serious trail. And to see what like the locals actually get through, it was mind blowing. The kids over there too. There's like youth
Like how
classes.
well they can ride, like the
Yeah,
technical aspect of the terrain.
yeah. No, it's just mind blowing. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to get home and just like I don't know. I want to go cut trail at my house or cut around or make gnarlier stuff. Honestly, it was eye opening, and we got to go. Ryder took us out surfing, tried to surf a little bit. It didn't go that great for me. I got up, but yeah, nothing special.
That's one thing that I have yet to have a chance to try to learn how to do is to surf. And that just looks like one of the coolest things. That's just got to feel so neat. The handful of times that I have had a chance to go like wake surfing, at, like a lot of the lakes here in Texas with different friends, like it's such a different feeling, like this
Hmm.
weird floating kind of gliding thing. So again, I can only imagine doing that without a boat right in front of you in this open ocean, like especially like
Yeah,
the shores of Hawaii, like in the middle of the
no,
Pacific. Like what?
I know. I'm not like a. I don't go to the ocean much, or I mean, I have. I've been out in the ocean and stuff, gone to the beach, of course, but I don't spend a lot of time out there. And yeah, going out there was kind of nerve wracking because we were driving along the shore getting there, and just these huge waves crashing against like the gnarliest, sharpest rocks along the shore, and they're like, "Yep, just around this corner is where we're gonna be." I'm
You're
like,
like,
man, this is pretty unforgiving. It gave me a lot more respect because looking at surfing, it just looks so soft. You just crash in the water, whatever. But just the force of the water, just one set after another comes. You don't have a break, like, and yeah, we were way off the land, off the shore, should say, and it's really not that deep. and they were warning us about like the reef
Yeah.
underneath being sharp, and yeah, we all got knocked down off our boards one second, and I just went to paddle up to grab my board, and I was like waist deep and just sliced my foot on the ground. So I was like,
Oh,
wow.
because you thought you were like kicking up to go
Yeah,
like
I
to,
was
to
like
like
swimming towards the
surface,
surface,
but you
but I
were
was
just
just like,
right there. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
and I just like the top of my foot just sliced up. Yeah, got me good, but that, like I said, just gave me a whole new respect for those guys. They're so gnarly.
Yeah, so what you're saying is my 43-year-old butt's gonna wear booties is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and
Booties and little mittens, little surf mittens or something.
uh, definitely a wetsuit because I got so chafed up too. I was out there for like 40 minutes probably and no shirt on. Just like right under my stomach and stuff was so chafed from riding the board. It was
Hmm.
brutal.
Yeah. So I'm like
I
I'm tough, but man, you're making this sound like I need to like toughen up more.
I mean I felt soft. I was like, there's old ladies out here surfing by me.
Well, dude, what? Okay, so the 3 hard enduros you've done so far of the U.S. Hard Enduro series, right? Like, how do they compare to you, right? Like, which one
Mm,
so far has been the most tough, and kind of like, what are your thoughts so far that you're kind of following the series, but not really, because you did miss King of the Motos. You're ninth currently in the West Series, but I'm certain you're not going to be able to make all the rest of those, so you're probably not really like worried about that.
yeah, no, I wasn't really focused on any of the points or anything. The Hawaii one was the most East Coast like, and it was the first one I did. So
And it was the most
I guess
West. It's like that'll mind F you.
yeah, but it was it was very challenging, and I was, I guess, the most prepared for that one. I guess for the terrain, so to speak. But that one was just beat me down so bad physically. I was like out there at that main event. I was like, man, do I really want to do another one of these? You know. But
Yeah.
overcoming that and then just like finishing was such an accomplishment, and I was super proud of that. I got a fourth there, and I was fighting with Will Reardon like the whole last lap um, for the last podium spot, and I ended up, I don't know, a minute or two behind him, and I messed the last hill climb up a couple times, a couple runs, so I wasn't too far behind, and I was like, man, after the dust settled and I started to feel a little bit better, wasn't sick after the race, I was like, man, I got the bug, and I want to do more, and for the following weekend, I went to the National Enduro in Texas, and I was able to win that, but in the last test, I whacked my thumb and tore a ligament in it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know it, and I was on the road from Texas. I had plans to go to the Grinding Stone Hard Enduro and back to the Snakebite Hard Enduro. So like, hopefully it's just a sprained thumb, and then see how it goes. But the Monday after, it's swole up super big and got really bruised. It was just super tough to hang on. Grinding Stone, all the races leading up to the main went pretty well, and then the main event, I just early jammed it and then made it to I can't think of the name, just that super gnarly rock slab we had to go up in the main, or the
Oh,
rock
I know, a
stairway.
Stairway to Heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like having to drag my wheel, I just jammed my thumb bad there and it flared up, and it was already super swollen while I was there.
I bet.
But
Yeah.
it felt terrible, and then just took the week off. We went to Snakebite, and I was kind of had high hopes for that one because it was a bit of an easier course, and we had like a long enduro course leading into the hard enduro stuff.
Yeah.
So I was planning to just kind of get out there and attack that, and I hiked all the hard enduro spots, and nothing was crazy stoppers like I could get through, and thought I had a good chance of getting on the podium there, but made it like a mile into the race, and I was in the middle of the pack, and everyone just locks up the brakes. It was just dust bowl and straight into a big rain rut. There was like one X arrow. Somebody was already crashed into it. So I like just bailed off and went straight through a cactus, right through my ass. So it's like a mile into the race. I'm
Oh,
like, you
that's
kidding
why
me?
there's was it a reel or something in your stories of like Napier like pulling shit out of your butt?
Yeah, Napper was
Ah.
tweezing him out, thankfully. But so this is like a mile into the race. I'm like, I jump up. I'm like waving my arms because Colton Haker comes barreling in and like crashes over the bars. His bike's going wide open, and then people are still like flying in, and you can barely see us. It's all the dust.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get up and I feel all the cactus. I'm like, oh, like hopefully it's not that bad. And then I sit down a little bit and I feel it. I'm like, damn, I'll just stand, you know. And then my right hand's like going numb. Like I see the needles sticking out like the top of my hand. So I stopped at one point and pulled out like 4 of them. I could definitely feel there's some more in there. So I just stood and I probably made like 4 or 5 passes after that. Like I said, it was like a 30-mile enduro loop. So I think I passed back into 4th or 5th place until we got into like the real gnarly stuff where I had to do like these pivot turns and these hill
Yeah.
climbs, and just the cactus needle was ripping out like my leg and my ass, and yeah, it was terrible. I was like, I can barely hang on my thumb was torn, and I'm like, man, get me home.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that one didn't go to plan. So after those 2 not really going well and getting the bug in Hawaii kind of wants me to come back for some redemption. So TKO is on the, I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking at it.
It's unofficially on the schedule.
Yeah. Let's put it that way.
I like it.
I got a lot going on around then, but we'll see. It's a cool event.
Yeah, man. No, TKO is fun, and I mean, I think that I personally wish that the mains on Sunday were different, like the way that they kind of like get everybody to the final and then the final sprint. But I also understand why it's done that way, because that last event is great for the fans.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I remember doing TKO quite a few different times, I think in the middle teens, going out, and like one of the years I actually qualified for Sunday. And I chose Video. Like I was like, nope, like I did exactly what I came to do on Saturday. I had fun, I rode decent, and I will let somebody else have that spot.
Nice.
And I made a video, and that's the good time I was. My dad still makes fun of me. Still gives me crap for not racing on Sunday. I was like, but
Thanks.
that'll probably never happen again, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I gave up my spot later too in that one. I did that in, I think we raced Saturday. We raced a pretty long race, and then I wasn't feeling too good. Then we did hot laps, and then I got super sick after that and wasn't able to continue. But
Yeah.
so that's my only experience at TKO. But after all I've learned this year and doing Hawaii, like tire and moose setup, and just overall how to ride it, I want to go back.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, what have you learned about, choosing tires, choosing mooses, and/or the way that you set them up?
Yeah, I mean, I right now I'm running a Dunlop gummy rear. That's a 140 width rear tire, so it's super wide. And then
That E91 that you had on?
yeah,
EN91, I think.
yeah. So I got that on there, and yeah, super wide footprint on the ground, and then a real wide Dunlop moose to fit in there. That's pretty cushy, but drill it out a ton and kind of get the right feel for it. And also got to put in 3 rim locks just to keep that tire on. So yeah.
I would love to watch you guys change tires. I can't even do I can't. I've tried so many times to figure out how to do bib mooses with 2 rim locks, and I just can't. I can't figure it out. Like I need a class. And so 3, I'm like, what are you guys, like, how do you do it? Like, I don't know.
It's difficult for sure, but also with the moose being so soft, it's not too bad, but especially with a used tire, but the new tire is pretty difficult.
Yeah. So what would you, any advice for other people out there choosing tires, choosing mooses, learning to drill, 3 rim locks, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, 2 rim locks usually do. If you could put them like across from each other, that's fine, across the wheel.
right.
I try to run as wide of a tire as you can, really, and the tire I'm running now has got a pretty low knobby height and kind of spaced out. So when the tire like squats in a lot, the knobs don't really touch and collapse.
Yep.
It's kind of important, and see how the bike sits, and you just want that rear tire to kind of grab over everything you can.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, we'll keep watching, and I look forward to you posting a reel of you changing a tire with 3 rim locks. Instructional video. Okay, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. Might be muted. A couple cuss words.
Yeah, it's okay. I get it. All right. One thing that I've been talking about a lot lately because it means a lot to me because my life was kind of changed by nutrition when I had my psoriatic arthritis diagnosis is nutrition, right? And I kind of wanted to know from your perspective, like, how do you plan for these different types of races? Now, we just had the National Enduro in Arkansas. So to me, that makes the most sense for us to talk about that. Like, kind of like, how do you prep? What does a Saturday look like? What does the week leading up to it look like? How do you treat your Sunday morning? What do you do during the race, right? Are you having liquid carbs in your bladder? Are you choosing to carry rice with you? You know what I mean? There's so many things. And then what does recovery look like for you after that event?
Yeah. I'm not too crazy or too picky about my diet. I kind of know what affects me or what to stay away from, I guess. But um, try to stay clean, eat not so much red meat leading up to the event, and just have a good judgment of how you feel too. I used to just load up on hydration and think I just needed more and more and more water, and I just feel so bloated and
Mm-hmm.
just imbalanced too. Electrolytes are kind of flushed in one way or the other, and I I kind of not so go off the color of my pee anymore and just kind of go how I feel. And I used to just stress about that so much. Honestly, as a kid, I was always told just like your pee has to be clear, and I was like, at that point, I feel like I'm kind of depleted.
No, you're absolutely
Seeing
right. So if
clarity,
you're,
right?
yeah, my rule of thumb is you want to be able to see yellow in your pee because if you're seeing clear,
Right.
you're literally just peeing water straight through the system. Your body is already to a point where it can't process anything else. So like if you're trying to like
Right.
take electrolytes with water, you're just peeing those right out, right? So you're
Right.
not
Right.
actually to a place where you can actually kind of like build up a little bit of capacity with some, your electrolyte loading. Not,
Yeah.
if you're peeing clear, you're not.
Yeah. No, for sure. And in some hot races, like leading up to GNCCs, I'd always take like salt tablets or salt pills or whatever to kind of retain that water leading up to it. And unfortunately, kind of got to feel bloated going into a GNCC, like water weight, to feel good towards the end of the race. Like I'd go into that one feeling fresh, and then I'd be burnt out at 2.5 hours.
Really? So you would
But
actually the way you would feel going into a GNCC because of the
I'd
length,
I'd
you would
have
actually
to
get
overeat.
yourself to that bloated
Yeah,
feeling.
force myself to eat and drink a little bit more than I would at an enduro. Sprint enduros and national enduros, I don't really eat much throughout the day, to be honest. Gels and it kind of depends how I feel, or yeah, in the morning about breakfast. Pretty light eater in the morning. Um, it depends on the heat too. That really affects me. I Seems like the heat obviously affects everyone, but really kicks me bad. And Arkansas was fortunately not too hot, and then not too long either of a day. So I just look at the mileage and see like how long or brutal my day is actually going to be, the sections, and hydrate, pack gels like accordingly. And I take a gel before I started, and then a gel in the middle of the day, and had like one Cliff Bar, honestly, and then I didn't really eat till after.
And how do you feel on that? Because just to give people context, like in reality, that's not a lot of calories. So, I wouldn't, as someone is learning to play around with that, I would actually suggest overeating to figure out what uncomfortable and overeating feels like versus undereating and bonking. Because
Yeah,
bonking feels way worse than
100%.
overeating and realizing to that point where you said you start a
Yeah,
little bloated for a GNCC. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. I mean, nothing worse than bonking than having gnarly migraine and getting sick after a race. But it's a fine line. In enduros, like I said, I know how long I can go before I bonk, and I can make it through a whole day before I feel bad if it's not hot, if I'm not sweating too bad. Like
Yeah.
Arkansas wasn't bad, but I know like Georgia, for instance, that one always kicks my ass. It's always brutal, humid, and you're not like getting a lot of airflow. It's pretty tight. And I know that one I got to try to eat as much as I can to and drink as much as I can, because um, and take it in equally. I learned that too, like food and water, because they really go hand in hand, like just absorbing it into your body. Because, like I said, you drink a bunch or eat a bunch, you just flush it out, one or the
Yeah.
other. Going hand in hand, like equally together, going down together is good.
Yeah, that's why I like, and also with a lot of as I start to share more information, right, that I've been putting out with Seat Time and stuff around nutrition, and I start to work with more people, I'm like, we need to start with whole foods. We need to
Yeah,
learn because you're going to get much better understanding and long-term health out of learning how to leverage whole foods through this. Like we're talking about like rice, potatoes, things like oranges, right? Like, and not, I'm not saying we're going to be eating all of those during the race, but the like what they are, what they do, and the fact, to your point, the balance of it, like how yes, you can just drink carbohydrates all day, but honestly, your body wants to eat. Your body wants
right.
to process whole foods, and if you can find that balance of understanding when you can start to bring a little bit of real food in on top of, say, all these liquid carbs, especially
Right.
protein, your body then will actually start to digest the carbs better because of the fact that it's doing what it more naturally wants to do versus just
Yeah.
processing liquid. It's pretty interesting stuff. So that's why I'm starting to talk to you guys more about that, because I think it's interesting what y'all do, why you do it, where you learned it from, and then too, like when and how you continue to play with it. But you don't
Yeah.
do any kind of liquid carbs in your bladder, and you don't really leverage electrolytes throughout the day, or do you have,
I do.
that kind of stuff is in your supplements?
No, I do hydration mixes, like liquid IV leading up to the race, just because they're. I don't drink a ton of them. I know they're pretty sweet and stuff, but they really have pretty salty and help me retain a lot of water.
Yeah.
And then it's a company called Morton. That's like a hydration, like a more cycling based company, and I think they're
Yeah.
from Denmark. But my old trainer Charlie got me on that, and it's pretty flavorless. And at GNCCs, I'll add that to my pack, and then like just a splash of Gatorade to make it something to make you want to drink it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really seemed to help with like cramping and issues like that. So I'll do that, like I said, if it's hot. And I think I had one stick of liquid IV this weekend, and then I just drank regular water, and I wasn't really overheating at any point.
Cool. What That's interesting about the GNCC part. So we got kind of just got a key into that, but how big is your bladder, right? And do you refill it? And then, a lot of people have asked me also about like the water bottles that we see hanging from the helmets when you guys go to pit. I've never asked, but I've always told people, I was like, it's probably some kind of, liquid carb or an electrolyte drink that you guys are trying to take in so you don't leverage, so that you keep something in your hydration bladder. What do you how do you leverage those GNCC
Yeah,
past like the start? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. No, everyone's got their own personal kind of combinations and what they do in the bottles and this and that. And I found, like I said, nothing too sweet or sugary in the pack, because it'll just tear your stomach up over the course of 3 hours. So the Morton is pretty gentle, but it has like it does have like carbs in it and electrolytes, and honestly don't know exactly, but definitely some sort of fuel like to consume. And then in the bottles, I'll grab usually plain water until the end, and then I'll grab something flavored, just because at the end of the 3 hours, you just want anything sweet, sugar, just the last lap, little boost.
Yeah. How do you spell Morton? So, because I've tried to Google it and I can't. Do you remember how to spell it?
Maurten, I think.
Bam. Maurten. If anybody wants to kind of give that a look, I'm gonna look into them because no, I haven't heard of them, and that's awesome. That's another reason why I like to ask all these questions. Is there are so many stinking products out on the market, and everybody's like, I use this, I use this, and I use this, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Use it. If it works for you, use it. That doesn't mean that everybody has to use it or that it's going to work best for somebody else and that you need to shove it down somebody else's throat, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. And for every good company out there, there's ten gimmicks out there
there's
also.
10 shitty companies that are just putting straight fructose, and like
Yeah,
calling it a carb drink. And it's like, well, bro, you could just go get table sugar and your blood sugar levels are going to spike. And in 30 minutes, you're going to be bonking anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Like it's just shit.
I'm not sure about like the regulation on some of those, It's
Yeah.
loose. But yeah, just kind of figure out what works for you. And I used to use some other companies like Scratch and stuff, and that was good
Yeah.
for a while. Then I started to get sick on it for a while, and then just literally put a bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, I can't drink it.
Yeah.
That's
I noticed that
everyone has
Scratch
the one
recently
bad
came out
experience.
with a high carb, low glycemic index stuff. It's the carb in it is cluster dextrin. Like if you want to get super nerdy, I've gone way down too many rabbit holes with this crap. And it looks like
Yeah.
it's a really good substitute. And so I have to look at this stuff because of my arthritis. Like, because whenever I have a high blood sugar spike, like
Mhm.
that inflames my arthritis, right? So I have to, like, I can't eat anything with sugar. And, and I stay away from even things like dextrose and stuff like that because it just comes into the blood so quick that all the insulin release, the blood sugar spike that happens, and then the big crash. And that just like my white blood cells go absolutely nuts. And so I just get a lot of inflammation and it flares up my arthritis. So I've tried to find, I've just leveraged rice for a long time,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
I would, to your point though, I did leave out, I guess, yeah, like the hotter races, it affects me more, and I eat a lot more, like even for an enduro. But in the past, I struggled with it's pretty similar, like a blood sugar level, like just crash, and just it's some sort of like bonking. I haven't figured out if it's just lack of fuel, really, but like not sure what exactly that I'm lacking late in the race or going into an enduro, and I'll just have like the gnarliest headache come on, and then blurry vision and just like a bunch of floating things in your eyes. Like I've read about it too and done some research, and it's like it is common. It's just like a side effect of like a blood sugar level, I guess.
Yep.
But
yeah, it sounds like
just,
that. It's just like that you had you crashed, right? So much
yeah,
insulin came out that it removed so much sugar from your blood so quickly that it's like now you don't actually have enough for actually being in the glycolytic pathway, and so your
yeah.
body's like and it's just.
I,
But
I've
again,
been in
you
that
could,
way, like
yeah,
at the end of a couple of races, and it's just the worst. So I had to focus on that, and that's when I got like the Morton and got a little better on that.
that's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that kind of stuff, and we're just past the hour that I said I would be keeping you. So I've got to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to offer you up to give out any advice. My last question is, bro, you're in second place in the National Enduro Series right now. Like, did you expect that, and what are your plans?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be in first place, to be honest. Yeah, I'm
Hell
kind of
yeah.
overdue. I've been second place a few times from injuries or bike issues, whatever it may be. It's been on me, but yeah, second place way too many times. Ready to win.
I love it, dude. Well, you've already got one win in the books. You've got a second and a third, second and a fourth, I think.
Yeah, I think I went two or three, 1, 4. So
All right, so we're ready for another win then.
that's right. Let's do.
All right. What's some advice, man? Give all us young rippers out here any of your thoughts that you want to leave us with.
Man, just enjoy it. Do what you love and do what you can while you can, and don't do it for the money. You never know. Tomorrow's not promised, and yeah, it's pretty cheesy, but just do what you can while you can.
Love it. Well, thank you for your time, sir. Have fun in your journeys, and I really appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
What did you think of that episode? If you're watching this and there's a comment, we'd love to know your best part, who we should have on next, and all of the other things you'd like us to be talking about here on the Seat Time podcast. Of course, please share this with your riding buddies. That is the number one way to support Seat Time. There should be ways, if you're watching this, that podcast clips will show up, continuing for you to be able to watch. Of course, if you are listening to this, please make sure that you go to shop.seattime.co, grab a shirt, grab some stickers, support Seat Time, but if nothing else, enjoy getting Seat Time. And if we don't get a chance to see you on the trail, we will certainly see you on the internet. Peace.